I deal with that a lot being Latino, man. Like Latinos and or just minorities in general. It's very easy for that because it's like you already grow up like feeling like the odds are already not they're stacked against you. So it's like it's easy for you to bring down somebody else because you know that everybody has similar weaknesses or similar insecurities. So it's very easy to bring somebody down, especially if you're part of the minority community, because that's the fucked up thing about it, man. It's like
It's
it's more
internalized.
yeah, and a lot of people don't really understand the damage they do by they or they're doing by doing that. Like it's like, man, you might have just broken this kid's last attempt at a dream, just because your insecure ass wasn't, wasn't about it.
It's Johnny Late Night! And now here's your host, Johnny Rogers!
Welcome back, everyone, to episode number 43 of the Johnny Rogers Show. My guest today is an entrepreneur extraordinaire. I mean, this guy has worked his ass off to create a better path for himself to be his own boss. I mean, he's also the co-host on the show BRealTV. Plus, he has his own podcast called We Don't Smoke the Same. And the new season of his cooking show, High and Hungry, will also be coming out very soon. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for my friend and yours, the one and only E-Zone. I'll cut together a little intro for you ahead of this, but I'll probably just tell people how we got connected. I was just happened to be in LA for like not even a week. I think it was like only a few days. And then the ominous truth turtle was like, you should check out E-Zone. And I was just like, damn, like, oh, this guy's like connected everywhere.
Do you know who he is?
No, I've tried. I was trying to message him back and forth. I remember like years ago trying to figure out who he was. And he wouldn't give me any info. He would tell me who he wasn't, but I was like, but that's what somebody, if you were one of the people I named, you'd be like, nah, it's not me.
Yeah. I mean, he seems very cool though.
Yeah, he seems dope. I mean, I feel like we'd get along. He has apparently seen one of my comedy shows, so I'm like, all right, that's cool. So he was probably Toronto local, I'm assuming.
That's dope.
I'm narrowing it down. We're gonna.
Yeah, he's from Toronto.
It's gotta be. It's gotta be.
He's definitely from Toronto because, that's how I came across with him.
Ah, I see. Because you were there. Like, are you still doing stand up, or was it just like the time that you came down with Rouse? Like,
yeah, I'm doing stand up, man. It's just I'm doing stand up. It's just like it's a different scene out here in LA, and then on top of that, man, I got so much things I got my hands in, bro, that it's very hard for me to like be there and be like and try to really compete with everybody else. Yeah, like compete. So it's like if I do stand up, it's like me hitting up like 3-4 open mics a week and like just doing it for the sole fact that I love it. You know what I mean? Like, hey, it's cool to go out there and make people laugh and shit.
Yeah, no, definitely.
I do throw my own shows though. You know what I mean? Our own shows, which does very well for us. We sell out most of the time.
Yeah, I was gonna say like that would probably be more of the move for you is to do some shit like that where you just have like your fans come out. Like it's always good, I guess, to go to those club shows and try to do a crowd that's not necessarily yours to see if the jokes are actually good. Because like people that love you, they're gonna laugh.
Yeah, that's really kind of like what I use it for.
Yeah,
that's kind of really what I use it for. Like where it's like. I'll go test out the material where I'm like, all right, cool. I was like, this is relatable to a lot of the general public. I was like, it's going to hit 10 times more when I talk to everybody in my crowd,
Yeah, 100%.
But yeah, that's kind of like how I've been on my comedy thing.
How long have you been at it and where was
Which is
like
pretty dope.
First...
My first comedy experience, man, it was the most craziest thing. Jason Rouse took me to Toronto. He was out. It was like I want to say like 3-4 years ago. He just said, he's like, hey man, if you really want to try this comedy thing, he's like, why don't you just come with me? He's like, get your plane ticket. He's like, come with me to Toronto. Nobody's gonna know you there. It's a different country. And if you eat a bag of dicks, he's like, well, just go sightseeing, bro. And I was like, all right, cool. So I think 2 hours, like I had like 2 months to start writing some jokes, and I was like, yeah, right. And like the top of that, the pressure was on, but because I really didn't go at it like a regular type of stand-up, like I guess, or upcoming stand-up where it's like they're like, oh, I want to open up for this person, and because he was like very encouraging, I think that helped out a lot more because I didn't feel that pressure of like, oh man, I'm opening up for one of Canada's most known comics, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or he's headlining out there and like I'm bumping everybody. I didn't know what the fuck a bump was. You know what I mean? I knew what a bump was in the bathroom, but not like, you know,
Yeah,
not
yeah,
like to bump somebody like, you know, like at at a show. And that's exactly what happened 2 years after, no, 2 hours after being there, after eating dinner. He's like, all right, we're going to the corner comedy store before they change locations. And I did 2 sets there. And then he took me to like a couple other places. And that was like the first set I have ever done. I was nervous, but I guess I just looked at it. I was like, just pretend there's cameras instead of people.
yeah. No, that's like 100%.
Which is very great.
Because you already have that kind of pressure, like you're used to that pressure audience being on, because you're on BRealTV, like you're on all these other like, you know, highly watched podcasts, and you're live, which is even crazier. Yeah. So I mean, stand up, it's gonna be like no
like
problem
there's no room for mistakes.
Yeah. Here, if you want to edit some
Yeah,
shit
like there's
out,
no
just
room
let me
for
know.
mistakes, and if it is. Oh no worries. I'm pretty like I think because I've done that, or because I've been so used to that, I've gotten so comfortable with being in front of the camera that a lot of people like that are really scared of being social in this aspect, or in this from this perspective, they look at it like, oh man, I could never do that, or like this is way too crazy. But I've gotten so I have a BA in communications, so it's, you know, I feel like it kind of went hand in hand. I did sales most of the times when I was working through my way through college. So now I'm like not like retail sales. I was selling cars. I was talking people into debt. You know what I mean? So I felt like all those things kind of just accumulated to give me that comfort level of just walking. It's like, you know what? Yeah, this ain't shit. Whatever. I'll pretend to be the substitute teacher. Let's do it.
Yeah, it's so true. Like especially when you start doing stand-up, you start looking back on all of the different jobs that you've had and how they can kind of, like I did door-to-door sales, you know, so like getting rejected in the entertainment industry, I would laugh at them. Like actors would be so upset, like, oh, they didn't like me at the audition. I'm like, so go to another one. Like it's literally just, you're gonna hit like 100 no's and then someone's gonna say yes.
You learn to take the L gracefully, man. That's the reason I don't really like. I've known people I go to when I go do open mics with like my peers or something like that. So like I'll see and I'll notice. I'm like, they'll take like when, you know, if their shit doesn't hit in a room, they'll take that shit personally. Like, oh, I don't want to go to the next one. It's horrible. I'm like, dude, this was a fucking room that had the heart of West Hollywood in it. I came in there with dressed like a fucking cholo. They're not gonna laugh at it. It's just good experience. Suck it up and go to the next one, because the other one's going to be better. But you have to be able to be comfortable. Like there's a certain level of professionalism, and I'm not saying that because I have the experience, but it's a professionalism. Like the golden rule in Hollywood is like, hey, the show must go on in a sense. And if they're not laughing, this and that, you know, you got a set to do and you got your time to do. You're not gonna bother the next person, fuck up their set, fuck up their time because you decided to eat a bag of dicks, or that crowd ain't really feeling it. I guess the beauty of it is the redemption of it, being able to go to the next one and say, hey, this first open mic was a bag of shit. I know that it was like transvestite night here in LA, and my shit didn't hit. So I'm going to have to go to the place in East LA where maybe I'm more of a familiar face in that aspect, you know?
Yeah, dude, there's nothing better.
Not to offend my alphabet people out there.
Yeah, alphabet people. Nah, they're fine. They're fine. They'll let me know in the comments and that, and I won't look at them, so it's okay. But like the redemption aspect of stand-up comedy is so great. Like especially when you know there's a room that you can do really well in, so to go immediately there to get that set out and get that. But it's also like incredibly
it's
humbling.
That, yeah, you see
humbling. Like there's jokes that I know work, and then I'll just get humbled completely.
Oh yeah, like when you're so comfortable, you're like, oh man, the last 3 times this has hit. This is beautiful. Yeah. I've been there, bro. Like I remember, like I had an experience where I had to go to Denver and I had a paid gig out there, and I'm like, yeah. And I remember when I realized where I was at, I was like, these motherfuckers don't know what a cholo looks like, or somebody that from South Central looks like, or not that I'm a cholo or anything like that, but it's like there's jokes about like one of my bits is like how I look like something like you know. Like how I fit in right into that genre, but I really don't. It's just my hair just doesn't grow like that anymore, officer. You know, so it's very it's very weird, man, when you get that shit, man. I remember I went out to Denver and I was like, oh damn. I was like, they know all the weed jokes, but the other stuff that hits in LA, you're gonna have to, and sure enough, that was one of my first experiences where I was like, damn, like, not what do I do, but I knew that I had a few things in the reserve specifically for that situation,
Yeah. Like I remember
where I was like, all right, well,
I remember that first experience of realizing like it's not even a cultural difference, but it's just like something that people would know. In Canada, one of the punchlines was Tim Hortons, which is just like the well-known coffee brand.
yeah.
But then I was at a show in Chicago.
I didn't know that till I ate it out there.
Yeah, that's all Canadians eat is Tim Hortons. But like when I went to Chicago,
like your Starbucks?
yeah, essentially, yeah.
Okay.
When I went to Chicago, I'm like doing the joke, and then in your head when you're doing comedy, you're always kind of 3 steps ahead. Like, all right, how am I transitioning into this or whatever? It's never usually just flying off the tongue. I'm thinking of the punchline, and then I'm like, oh shit, they're not gonna know what that is, or some people might not know, but not everyone. So there's like a part in the video that I always cringe at where I'm like, I stutter a little bit, and I'm like, Starbucks, and it just doesn't fit. But I was like, that's the coffee chain I needed to go to.
You were quarterbacking, and then like right where you were supposed to have like a wide receiver, there was nobody there.
There was nobody there. Yeah. I was like, fuck, audible, run it.
But you're like, yo, I know this play works. I know that I know we've scored match touchdowns with this. Like, yeah, I know what you mean, man. But I'm not. I think that I'm not like. I can honestly say I'm not afraid of that, man. Like, I'm really not afraid of that. And it's like a lot of people are like, insecure people will be like, well, that's too confident and like that's cockiness. And I'm just like, nah, fuck that. I was like, it's not that. It's just that I've got to a level of comfort where I'm at where public speaking doesn't scare the shit out of me. You know what I mean? It doesn't put any fear in me.
I got that as soon as I started doing like making hip hop. That is such a scary thing to try to get into from nothing.
I got into. I was doing rap before I was doing comedy. So I'll tell you about that.
A lot of parallels, yeah. But and like I think that, I was like, it made me more comfortable on stage as a comedian.
I think that helped me out too, man. I was like, man, I went up there and I forgot lyrics. I was like, me fucking going up here and being quiet for 2 seconds ain't gonna kill me. Or like one joke that they don't laugh is not gonna be as bad as like the beat playing and you blank out. Oh, yeah. So it's which I've had experience in different, like I've had, you learn through it, but it's like I just kind of felt like music it's very demanding for the amount of time that I had. You know what I mean? And it's not that I don't love doing it because I could sit down and be like, all right, cool, write to this beat. I probably could write something very, something good, but it's just, I don't know.
It's time consuming.
It's time consuming, bro. Like, I mean, fuck, I bitch about me not being able to go to sleep because I got to package like 100 orders from my merchandise that's sold on my site. And I was like, now imagine if it's like, hey, once you're done with that, we're going to drive to the studio. We're going to be here till 4 in the morning. Like,
no. Mixing and doing shit. I was just going to say, people, if they want to check out your merch and give you some more work to do, they can go to flavorsbyezone.com. I'll put all those links in the description.
Thank you. I actually ship international too. I have a lot of customers out there in Canada, man. That's when it comes to international. It's or just like weed theme inspired projects, like my High and Hungry food blog. My merch does very well in there, so it's like I know there's a lot of people out there. It's like, yeah, I rock High and Hungry out here, eh?
Out here, eh? Is that your Canadian impression?
Yeah, I mean, I never really got the A because like Latinos say it differently. Like like at least out here, man, like, or at least in the South Central culture, like we're used to saying A, but it's different. It's like, listen to me, eh?
Yeah. It has a different tone and meaning.
Yeah, it's like more aggressive,
Yeah. We're just like, what's that all about, eh?
Yeah. It sounds very like curious.
You know what? It's almost like I feel like it's often used as it's a bit of an insecure verbal tick because like when we're saying that, we're trying to get the approval of people around us. When you think about the context that it's used in, we're like, that's good, right? Right, eh? Right? Like you're trying to like get them to be like, yeah, that's good, eh? Like
get that camaraderie
back and forth. Yeah.
No, I feel that, man. It's like I didn't get. I would say it out there, but it wouldn't be. It would hit differently. Like we could tell that A's not from here.
Yeah. Just hits a little bit different.
It hits a little bit different.
Slight tone on it.
You still making music?
Yeah, I haven't made anything recently. I just finished an album that I put on Spotify and iTunes and all that jazz. But yeah, I've been kind of just refocusing back on comedy now. So I'm trying to, because I'm like, it took me 2 years to make, I made like an hour of music, but then I only put out like 30 minutes of it. So I'm like, I want to spend the next few years working on that like hour stand-up material and getting that like grinded down, and then putting out like an hour of stand-up comedy. I think that's my next like project or mission.
So you took a break so you could focus in a little bit better with the stand-up comedy?
Yeah, because the only reason why I stopped doing stand-up is because stand-up sucked. It sucked from 2020 to now. It's been terrible. It's been nothing that I want to be part of.
You didn't want to be on Zoom and shit. Like I can imagine. No. It's like the delay, like jokes hit way different. I didn't try that shit, man. I wasn't.
There's a bit of a delay here even, and I'm like, all right, get your pacing.
You have that delay that like stadium comedy.
Yeah.
The joke hits different the farther you are.
I'm sure there's people that are great at it. Like I'm sure there's people who are so good at Zoom comedy, and I encourage them to keep doing it, but I'm like, it's not for me.
Yeah, I feel you on that.
Just the thought of it made me cringe.
I'm gonna get some water real quick.
Yeah, go for it, man. Yeah, we'll cut to commercial.
I'll be right back.
Hey everybody, Johnny here. Just want to take a quick second to thank our newest Patreon subscriber, CLB. I appreciate your support, and because you are subscribed to the show for just $1 a month, you're getting this episode before anyone else. If you want to be cool like CLB, head to patreon.com/TheJohnnyRogers and join in on the fun. All right, now back to the episode.
Yeah,
and we're back.
Yeah, and we're back.
I just cut to a Patreon commercial, so people will know what's up. Go subscribe to that Patreon if you're listening. We need that. I need that. I like speaking. It's funny becoming a comedian or entertainer. You start looking at like you as a business. So in a lot of messaging, I'm like, we need your support. It's just me. My pronouns are we.
Well, I mean, you are your own like, I guess, company that's moving on forward, everything, man. That's one of the hardest things that even to this day, it's hard for me to accept it in so many aspects, bro. Like I still do a lot of the shipping from my company. You know what I mean?
You need to hire staff, dude.
Yeah, like I literally still do a lot of the shipping from my company, and it's hard for me to trust somebody with it. It's just hard, like, because it's like the saying is very right. If you want something done right, do it yourself. And a lot of the times that really is the circumstance. But I also gotta learn as I keep getting busier that the load's not gonna get any lighter if you don't start taking these steps, because eventually growth is what. That's how you
think
measure.
About Jeff Bezos, dude. Imagine Bezos starting with Amazon, where it's just online book rentals, and then he expands to selling like clothing and shoes and whatever. He's got to get a factory.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure he was there in the factories for the first like 10 or 15 factories,
probably,
but after that he probably had to just go hands off. Like, you guys run it. Like, I hope you do well. Yeah,
like he's like, don't forget how you're representing me.
Yeah. It's like you need to almost, and it's hard, but you need to almost find people that really believe in like what you're selling or what you're putting out.
That is very key. That is very key, man. Like I've told people that are like friends, they just kind of just want a job and stuff like that. And I'm like, hey man, like I've never seen you rock any of my stuff. I've never seen you show any interest of any food blogs. Like you don't even watch Guy Fieri and you want to work for my High and Hungry company. Like, you know what I mean? Like I appreciate the interest, but I'm not in the business of just giving my money away. I want to build with the team that wants, like, if I get the right marketing person behind me, I want to make sure that person wants to be like, hey, we're gonna end up on Netflix with this food show, and we're gonna do this like that, because that's where I want my credits. That's where they want their credits to be, and that's where this ship is headed. You know what I mean? Because they have the same vision.
Yeah, and those are the people that are going to be like texting you at like midnight, being like, I had this crazy idea of way we can market it. Like, you want them thinking about it 24/7. not just like a 9 to 5 sort of deal.
These are facts, bro. These are very big facts right here.
However, what I was gonna say, because I'm sure at some point, and for several points of your life, you, like you said, you were a car salesman, you worked different types of jobs. What was the switch or moment for you where you're like, fuck it, I gotta do this like shit on my own. I have to find a way to be my own boss, like kind of take the reins.
The pressure of always feeling like you're gonna get in trouble for trying to get ahead. You know what I mean? Like, for example, like when I was selling cars, as much as I wanted to be out there, doing college shit and making money at my own pace and like taking on business ventures by myself, I had to respond because I needed that security blanket. You know what I mean? So I literally had a gamble a lot of like almost like 2-3 different lives, and then when the pressure from that came on, like entrepreneur life, there was a point where I was working for a company called Young and Reckless as an intern at the same time while selling cars and at the same time while being in college, and I had, it was like, yo, one of these things has to go.
Yeah.
And sure enough, I had to make that decision, and yeah, I had to take extra measures to make sure that I was good at that point. But I've always been a hustler, and at that point, weed wasn't recreational, so I mean, being a weed salesman was great at that point. It was pretty lucrative,
Yeah, at least you could fall back on that. It's like people are always gonna need weed.
I mean, at least at that point for me, it made sense because I'm already in the industry. I got all the connects, so I'm like, well, let me just see what I can do. What's the worst that can happen? And I was like, oh, it turns out a lot of people like getting high.
It's just the way it works, I guess.
It feels good to inhale it.
I just smoked before this podcast, so I gotcha. But I got legal stuff here. I got the TWD. I don't know.
It doesn't come in the boxes no more?
No, they come in these like containers that are almost like a medicine container.
Last time I was there, it came in those little boxes. You know what I'm talking about? The little blue boxes.
Yeah, now they have like little containers
good.
like that. I mean, I'm sure it's all different because sometimes I get like there's this one brand called John Gee, and it's a super cheap weed. If you're looking to get into weed and you're in Canada, and that sounds so funny to say, get into weed.
Get into weed.
Get into weed. Let's put that on.
Is that like what the intro weed out there?
Yeah. Well, it's because it's the cheapest. So I'm saying, like, if you don't want to put like a big investment into weed, like it's like $17 for 3.5 grams. So it's not too bad. But it comes in a little bag, a little reusable bag. But those rates must be killing any remaining drug dealers. I couldn't imagine still trying to sell weed in today's market. There's like 1,000 weed stores.
Do you know that you would trip out on the whole fact that out here in the homeland, the black market is thriving, bro. The black market is thriving like crazy because the taxes and the prices don't allow those same consumers that have always been consuming it to be able to walk into these shops and find those prices affordable. So as long as you have the same stuff, it's like, hey, why not buy it from, it's like scoring stolen goods and in an alley, so behind the mall. It's like, hey, this backpack's $5,000 in there. I'm giving it to you for $800.
Yeah, like there's this comedian in Toronto named Black Zeus who I love his stuff.
Oh, I know. I know Black Zeus.
He has that one joke about supporting your local dealers. He's like, they need velour tracksuits. Like,
yeah.
He's like, support your local. He just starts yelling, support your local.
Yeah, I remember seeing him do it. I keep in touch with him every now and then when I see him on Instagram, but I haven't seen him in a while. I haven't been in Canada in a while. I hope to go back soon.
Yeah, Mike is a great comic. He's so funny. Yeah, you got to come back to Canada, dude. Now you all have connects in Toronto, and you can come to Ottawa too. I can try to find you some shows. I'm navigating those waters myself right now, just moving cities.
I was, I was hoping to go back with Jason sometime this year. So I was like, if that's still up for grabs, I might. If it doesn't align. But I know I'm supposed to see him in June. He's supposed to come out here, and I'm gonna have him on my show.
Nice.
I'm gonna chop it up, and,
How did I'm sure people listening to want to know as well, but as well as me, but like how did the partnership with like BeReal and BrealTV came about? Like you want to talk about that opportunity?
Well, he got my mom pregnant, and then that makes him my dad. No, honestly, it was all just off an internship, man. It was an internship where it came about. I had just come out of college, and I was selling bud at the time and pretending to drive Lyft. So
Pretending to drive Lyft?
yeah, I would just take 3 rides a day. That's all I would, and then
Okay.
I would just be doing deliveries all day. I'd be like, yo, what's up? You need me to stop by here? You need anything? Boom, just going house to house. But like obviously I had my own little clientele, and I was doing that fresh out of college because I didn't want to go get a job that I was gonna learn to hate. So I was in the process of getting hired by what is it, Enterprise Rent a Car, and I was doing pretty good. I had made it through the third regional interview. I'm like, this is a job that guaranteed like 200 grand to start up, like a year.
Wow.
And I'm like, damn, I was like, I could be a regional manager. This is a different life. And I had been trying to chase this internship at BRealTV the whole time, man. I was like, I was about to give it up. And then that day where I was like, fuck this, man. I was like, they didn't hit me back up. Whatever, let's go with corporate life, dog. I was like, we'll fucking build a clothing line at some point in the garage somewhere. I was like, you got to get
I
this
love the
money.
grind is still there
Yeah.
though. Like I have
Like,
the same shit, dude. The
like,
same
I'm
shit.
like, 200, what is it? 200 grand. It's like, we'll be on, dog. I'm like, we'll be pretty good over the process of a year. And I got a call back from them, and I was just like, fuck it. Like, I had made a decision. I bit my tongue, and I said, I'm gonna take a chance on my dreams and like go with this non-paid internship at first. And it fucking took a good month for me to really, like, the whole fact of it said in that I did something for the greater good of my entrepreneur career. But at the time, I kind of hated myself because I really needed the money. You know what I mean?
Course, man.
I really needed the money. I was fresh out of college. Like, you're
Dude,
fucking, you're
those
tired of me.
moments are
Yeah.
big moments in your life. Moments of desperation like that too, where you're like absolutely destitute. You're like, I don't know what I'm gonna do to pay my rent. And then an
Yes.
opportunity like that presents itself, but it's still not gonna fix your situation. You just like it's almost like making you, I picture as like us artists, let's call us, or comedians or whoever, as like a block that you're slowly chipping into like a statue, like a nice statue. And each of these decisions in these moments is chipping away at that slowly. It's like a delayed gratification. Like it looks like shit right now, but give it some time and it's going to be the best thing that you ever did, was keep chipping away at that block.
I want to really be 1,000 because I don't really get interviewed a lot. Like everybody's like, and I don't know why. I really don't know. It's like I don't know. People are fucking think I'm.
Dude, I think you're a very interesting person. That's why I wanted to talk to you.
I appreciate that, man. Because and I'm like, yo, man, I'm very approachable for the most part, but I do a lot of the whole interviewing part, man. And I've never said this a lot to I mean, at least like in another interview, but my life and my career really didn't start. I didn't really start enjoying the fruits of my labors till as of like after COVID, which marked my 5th year into me being fully invested into my business, fully invested into the hustle, fully invested into all these things that I was doing. I wasn't 100% in just one thing, but throughout the whole time, I felt like it was going nowhere because I was watering 5 different plants. I was like, we're going to eBay store, we're going to this store, we're doing this shit, plus we're doing this entrepreneurship, plus we're doing food blogs, plus we're doing this. And every little thing, I'm watering these plants, and I'm like, yo, man, one day something's gonna come out of here. And for the longest, I would have that effect where I'm like, man, the fuck, nothing's coming out of the dirt. And sure enough, man, like I really started to see a change on my 5th, 6th year. It's very true what they say, man. You take 5 years into something before you start seeing. And I mean, I want to tell you, man, it's like some of the juiciest fruits I ever fucking had, bro, because I'm like, yo, I went from like counting with my hand the amount of orders I would get a day, where like now I fucking, not that I bitch about it, but I'm just like, yo, I gotta, like, I've been packaging since 8 o'clock and it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm a little Amazon right now,
Yeah, dude.
It's very satisfying, bro. Like it's very satisfying to me, bro. It's like a different growing pain. Even when I get tired and I want to bitch about it, I just get happy about sleep. But I get so happy at the fact that this is some idea that in the beginning, a lot of people or your peers or your family will be like, this, you think this little bullshit story or bullshit, not in those terms, but this little bullshit idea is going to pay off. And you're like,
Yeah,
yeah,
dude,
I'm
my
going to work
mom
my
and
ass
dad
off,
still
right?
say, how was your little skit last night? That's what
Yeah.
they call my comedy career, my 10-year comedy career. How was your
But when
little
it
skits? I know my mom's
but
probably
when
watching this too.
when it pays off, man, it's big time, man.
It
It's
will,
like
yeah.
I just was fortunate and like I guess smart enough to not just focus on just one thing, bro. I had so many things, so all these little things were getting watered at the same time, and it may have taken a lot, and it may seem like forever, but it's fucking great, bro. Like I made a lot of the things that people said were not gonna work out for me pay off. The weed paid off, shit. It pretty much helps me pay my bills, and I don't have to risk my ass for it because it's legal and I work with these companies. The alcohol paid off, bro. I've made 4 beers for BReal with different companies. I made 3 beers for
Wow.
myself. Like to
That's
me, I'm just
amazing.
like and I'm like, this is something that I love, bro. I was spending so much money at these beer companies every month and every week going to breweries, like 2, 3, 4 years before I even knew anybody from a brewery. And I was just like, I wasn't making connections. I was just really loving it because I really did. And I'm like, hey, if I love it this much, imagine if I apply myself and try to get something in this lane. And that's how I ended up with the alcohol deal. Where it was like, I kept meeting these people, kept networking. And then they're just like, hey man, like you have a brand. If I didn't have a brand, granted, that's where it would have ended. I would have just been, hey, that's one cool dude that comes drink a lot. But it's like,
But that was one thing that you were already watering.
Yes.
So you're like, yeah, here you go. Like, what's the saying? I always say this on this podcast, but like success is just preparation meets opportunity. Is that what the saying is?
There's a different interpretation of that same thing where I've always lived by, and it's crazy that you mentioned that because I've always thought it's like when people. So there's a lot of people, especially because my job seems or my career seems like it's a lot of fun. You're like, yo, you're around weed all the time. You're like around beer. I was like, yes, but you guys, everybody else thinks that this guy just smokes weed all day, but in the office, that I get to see hungry be real, pissed be real, sad be real, which is very rare, or like angry be real, like just different ones. And I'm just like, a lot of people just have this perception that like you're so lucky you get to be there around all these stars, but they don't see the preparation that goes to it and the hard work behind it. So I'm like, there is no such thing as lucky. Luck is where your hard work and preparation meet at the same time, and that's what creates your progression. So like, to the average person, it might seem like, oh, you're very lucky. It's like, no, lucky is me getting a scratcher out of the machine and hitting $1,000. That's lucky right there. You know what I mean? Like, there's no chance 100%. I could break that. Like I haven't been working for that shit no matter what. I've been wishing for it, but
that's what makes me laugh every time that there's like, I mean, Just for Laughs does this with their New Faces special, and then like music award shows do this too, where they're like a newcomer of the year. But all of these people, these new faces that they're mentioning, have been doing it for like 10 to 15 years. Like they put in 10,000 hours. Like nothing to this is new to them. They've been everywhere. They've tried to do everything, and now they get presented with this opportunity to be displayed as an amateur, which is just so backwards to me. It's just like there needs to be a new way to rebrand that.
It's like to even get let in. It's like almost it's just fucked up in that aspect where it's like, hey man, this is just to get in the club. Like if you want to buy drinks, you want to have VIP, you want to do all this shit, you're gonna have to do a little bit more. You know what I mean? But it's like we're just letting you in. The bouncer moved out of the way is all this means.
Yeah. Like the first gatekeeper has stepped aside.
Yeah, like he's going on break now.
That's the beautiful thing. Like a lot of people like to shit on today's time and be like, oh, technology is ruining us, or it's like, humanity is terrible now. But like, I couldn't think of a better time to be alive, because like what we're doing right now even would not be possible. The idea of me having my own show, it would have to get approved by so many people, and I would have to prove myself to all these people.
Yep.
But instead, I bought a camera off of Amazon and hit up some friends I know.
You'd have to deal with all the Weinsteins.
Yeah, fuck. And I ain't sucking no dick for a show.
Oh, dude, yeah, I constantly shit on Terry Crews at the fact I was like, you're the one person that should have not been in the whole Me Too case. I was like, look at this grown ass muscular man crying about somebody grabbing his dick. If I was that muscular, somebody grabbed my dick, bro, I would be like fucking like what is it, Venom from Scarface? I mean, sorry, Venom from Spider-Man, just tossing you for like everywhere. I'd be like,
Venom
you
and
ain't touching me
Scarface would
like
have been
that.
lit though.
Yeah, yeah. I would be that reaction where it's like, when he slams the phone, that's how angry I would get. Just I'm like, look, man, what the fuck? I get it why like chicks can't put up a fight like that. Obviously,
Physically, it's like
yeah,
you know what I
physically,
mean?
it's
It's
not, it doesn't add up.
intimidating. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's intimidating, but it's like, man, if I'm Terry Crews, Bill, I swear to God, bro, and you scared to swing
That's how
on
you know all that shit is water. It's just water weight. You know how like SpongeBob when he got like the
yeah,
fake muscles and they just popped them?
yeah, anchor arms.
Yeah. Terry Crews is all water weight. I don't even know what did we want to like theme this episode, because I usually let the guests pick like a topic or anything. Like, is there anything recently that you've just been thinking about a lot that you want to talk about?
Um, like thinking about it like on the deep level, or just like, hey, I'm just
Any level, man. Like people pick like the last episode we did was nuance, which sort of came about from what we were talking about.
this is titled like, we've been talking about a lot about growth and redemption. So I mean, those are two things. Yeah,
Yeah, redemption is a great word too.
a lot of
What's
people
your
don't take
what's your greatest
what?
redemption story?
Doing doing everything that people said was gonna make you be out for the count. You know what I mean? Like getting my college degree, despite not having the money to pay for college. Um, making a career in cannabis, despite the fact that people said that's a drug. It's not gonna take you nowhere.
It's gonna make you
Um,
lazy.
making this of my footprint and my noise in the alcohol and beverage industry. A lot of people said, hey man, that's just another vice, it's not good for you and this and that. I was like, well, it's not a vice when it's business, right? And overall, just the whole fact, I value that a lot, because my life has always been like always on some entrepreneurship, and it always seems crazy at first to people, but then they're like, you're paying the bills off of doing this, like reselling. I've been doing reselling a lot lately. It's the same thing. A lot of people are like, you're gonna make money, start a business off of going to the flea markets and swap meets and taking old pop culture stuff and reselling it and selling Pokemon cards and doing this shit. Haha, that's hilarious. Pokemon cards are for kids. And now I'm just like, hey, remember that shit you said about like 6 months ago? Guess what? Those Pokemon cards built like a $15,000 bankroll. You know what I mean? Like, and you're just like, oh shit. Like, and there's people are like, what the fuck? They're like, how do you keep that money? I was like, yeah, I don't waste it. It's called, it's a business. So
You
that
invested
those are
back
all
in.
different examples of redemption, at least for me, because I've like redeemed, not that I had anything to prove to any of those people, but it's like for myself, because who isn't going to feel some type of way with somebody who critiques your life, especially 9 times out of 10, when somebody says something like that and you take it to, it impacts you on that level. It's obviously because you care about the individual, or they have, they're a friend, they're a family relatives or something, for them to even talk to you like that, number one. So it's going to happen, because not everybody understands how you're going to move as an entrepreneur, or what you're going to do, or what you're going to go through. And sometimes it may be purposely, and sometimes it may not be purposely, but you're going to have to deal with this. You know
Yeah,
what I
that's
mean?
something
So
in the. Have you read like The War of Art by Stephen
Art
Pressfield?
of War, is it
No,
the War of Art?
it's called The War of Art. It's kind of just a play on Art of War. The
I
War of
haven't,
Art
I
by
haven't I read the
Steve.
Art of War, but I was
The
like, that
war,
shit was.
you should look up The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. It's a simple, it's like a quick read, like a small book, but everything in it is just so impactful. Like I was just thinking about what you were saying there. Fuck, I got too high. But like you were saying
Okay.
about family, that's what it was. So he said, whenever you're trying to make a change in your life for a better, you will have immediately all of these outside sources with opinions, because people for the most part, like their surroundings to stay the same, right? And that includes the people that they know. So when somebody in their life starts making drastic changes, they kind of reflect on their own life, and it might make them feel insecure or jealous or all of these horrible feelings that we can have, envious too. And therefore they start
Envy is a big
putting
one too.
their own like insecurities onto you, as if they're the ones doing it, you know. They get very worried, and you shouldn't do that, and like, you know, and try to push you away from these things. That could be,
They
you
try
know,
to
like,
put fear into your plans
yeah,
sometimes. It's like I deal with that a lot being Latino, man. Like Latinos and or just minorities in general. It's very easy for that because it's like you already grow up like feeling like the odds are already not they're stacked against you. So it's like it's easy for you to bring down somebody else because you know that everybody has similar weaknesses or similar insecurities. So it's very easy to bring somebody down, especially if you're part of the minority community, because that's the fucked up thing about it, man. It's like
it's
it's more,
internalized.
yeah, and a lot of people don't really understand the damage they do by they're doing by doing that. Like it's like, man, you might have just broken this kid's last attempt at a dream, just because your insecure ass wasn't, wasn't about it.
Yeah. And like really the only way to find out is to just do something and then fail. And I think people are so scared of failure that they're never willing to try something. And like going back to you starting like this business and starting with a couple orders and then going into a bunch of orders, and you're kind of like, oh, I'm overwhelmed by this now. I was reading this other book called, I think it's called the 10X Rule. I can't remember the name of the author, but he has a great point in that book about how you want new problems. Like new problems are a good thing. Like, because
Yep,
that is just another opportunity for you to try to problem solve, try to figure that shit out, and maybe you make your system better. Maybe you find a way to make more money than you were before.
that's very true. New problems and new obstacles are not necessarily always there to be like an inconvenience. Sometimes that's the only sign of growth that you're gonna get.
Yeah,
You know,
entirely. You're like,
like,
I didn't think that you're like, you probably didn't think when you started it, like you wanted the business to be successful, but you didn't probably think like, oh, I'm going to be swamped with orders, you know, that I have to
yeah, like
fulfill and put out.
yeah, like you didn't expect that it was gonna be like that, and then before you know it, you're like, oh man, like the demand has been built so much that now
Now I got to
I
hire
got,
someone.
yeah,
You're going to need like a
no, I
virtual
definitely.
assistant.
Oh man, if I could at some point, man, I would like to have like I wish we were like an Android era, like where I could have like three different robots like working, like three different Rosies, like from the Jetsons.
Bro, if self-driving cars become like mainstreamed, I'm sending my thing out to do Uber runs all day and let my car make me money.
Yeah, right. I never thought about that. Like it's like, hey, yeah, it's like you're gonna be programmed. I'm gonna nope, make a left here. Yeah,
Yeah. It'll just do it itself. Because picture that if governments decide that the best way to avoid like automobile accidents is to have every car on the road be self-driving, but you can still drive your cars on the tracks or whatever. Like there's like limited spaces where you can enjoy maybe your old like Mustang or whatever you have, your old Corvette, and rip it around a
yeah,
track. But on the roads, these government roads, you know, they have to be self-driving cars. People are going to use their car to make them money while they're at home making money, you know?
yeah. Especially after like the whole pandemic and stuff, man. People are just gonna
Did
just
you say pandemic?
yeah,
Love it.
yes. So it's like after all that, man, you're a lot of people got some people lost their jobs and lost it, and then some people
It
found a
was
new hustle.
crazy to see that, dude.
A lot of people found a new hustle, and they realized like, hey, I can make as much money being at home.
There's some people even that they do this where they have two work from home jobs, but they, like I said, virtual assistant, they hire someone overseas to basically do their one job for them. So they get paid, say, $30 an hour for that job. They pay this guy wherever $8 an hour to just do that
Yeah,
job while they work on another job to bring in more income. And I'm like, that's a hustle I couldn't imagine doing. I'm sure it's easy once you get it set up and the system's good, but I could just see so many ways it could go wrong.
yeah. Like, what if like Rakesh decides to fucking fuck up everything like on my
Just goes
on my
ham on it.
yeah. which is like, I found out how much they are paying you.
$8, they're only giving you $8. It's like, no, that's how much you're getting.
Yeah, for real.
I'm getting 55.
That makes a lot of sense though, man. Yeah, I mean, but there's a lot of people that are doing it, especially like in India and stuff like that. You have to deal with that.
Dude, though, what's crazy there is like how big the scam call centers are. Like in the totality, oh, that's not even a word. In the like with mass spectrum of how many people, let's say, live in India, there's only maybe like a tiny percent that work in these scam call centers, but like it's their whole life. Like it's the way that they pay for their house is they
Yeah.
scam people over. Like that's so crazy to me.
Yeah, no, the whole scamming, the whole scam thing is just, it's crazy, man. Like those, like, if only you could put that much dedication into doing something straight business, you know?
That's why we need religion to come back. We need to
Yeah.
get people's morals set straight again.
Or something that hits just the same. Mushrooms for everybody.
Yeah, that's actually the move. Legalize
Yeah.
mushrooms. I saw a store
Yeah.
downtown Ottawa. It's right in front of the Absolute Comedy there, and it's a shroom store. I was like, is that legal? Like, I don't think there's a giant
have
mushroom
it?
on the outside.
Do they have that? They probably just sell everything to grow them.
Probably. It's probably that. They have to, it has to be like a cover in that way. But I bet a place like that, like they literally have like a psychedelic mushroom painted on the side of the building. Like it couldn't be more like, hey, we're selling illegal shit over here.
It's probably like it's almost like the same effect where like a hydro shop used to be at before, you know what I mean? Like they they probably knew all the growers because they would go buy everything from them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be dope though if you could just walk in and buy mushrooms at some point. Just
You
completely
know, they're legal
legal.
out here in California. I think San Francisco was the first city to legalize them.
And everybody's losing their mind and killing each other? That's what they said
No,
would happen, right?
that's true, right? I never thought about that. I was like, yeah, why is everybody still killing each other?
Yeah.
I guess it hasn't hit mainstream yet, you know?
Mm.
And I think a lot of the old generation's like afraid to try it too. Like I can't
Yeah.
think of anybody who's like 50 that'll be down to try it. That's not like, you know, all the motherfuckers that are 50, like that I know that, you know, like growing up, they're not down. And then the ones that are, they're like those hippie old school motherfuckers. It's like, yeah, I've been taking mushrooms. Let me get one.
Yeah. You know where I think it would be good to have mushrooms like introduced legally in a lot of systems if there's like governments or whatever that are worrisome about it, is they should try it in, I believe it's called Hospice Care. Is that the name of it? Hospice.
Is that for old people?
It's a type of healthcare that focuses on terminally ill patients. So people who are maybe you're very sick or they know for sure you're going to pass away. Like there's like no question.
Like you got an expiration date.
Yeah, they're like we're just gonna keep you comfortable basically and like let your family come in and see you, but like there's nothing we can do. Like we can't move you out of here unless you want to go to home and die at home, but like you're gonna die. And they have that kind of like outlook. And it could be someone who's very old as well, like, you know, it's many different cases. But I think honestly, giving people like a small dose of mushrooms in that kind of environment, if you will, or that point of your life where you can have those moments where, because so many times on mushrooms, you just feel at peace with everything. And if you're having thoughts of like, okay, I'm going to probably die in a few hours or a few days or however long, right? I think it would be an easier way for someone to leave this planet is having that like kind of last moment of like,
I feel like you can also have like an epiphany moment with psychedelics where it's like, all right, you know, you're going to die and maybe you might see something while you're tripping. It's like, hey, well, it's my time.
Yeah,
like
come to terms with it as well, right? Like
let's fucking do it already.
Because that's everybody's hardest thing is the acceptance of that, like the acceptance that it's all inevitable for all of us, which it shouldn't be a fear. It should almost be like, oh, we're actually all in this together, guys. Like no matter who you are or how much money you made while you were here, none of it matters because we're all going out of this world shitting our pants.
It's almost like a rite of passage for like everybody that's You're gonna have to experience it at some point.
You passed through the first level of hell. You made it.
Yeah, right.
This is hell. There's no way it's not.
I don't know. I feel like it could be worse.
It could always be worse. Maybe it's the second level. Maybe we were somewhere worse before this.
Yeah, it's progressing because like we just don't see it. Just more worse shit keeps happening.
Dude, I remember when my brother was, I think he was like, couldn't have been like, he was probably like 4 or 5. And our dog had just had surgery, so she had like a cone around her neck and she was all bummed out and on the ground. And I walk by my brother and he's petting the dog and he was like, "Don't worry, it's gonna be okay. I remember when I was a dog," and I was like, "Pardon?"
Yeah, what the fuck? That's
The fuck does that mean? Like, I'm 10. I'm like, what the fuck? Like,
how old was your brother?
he was like 5. He was like 4 or 5.
Yeah, that's some. You know what's crazy? Like
Like, do you
will-
think at that stage of your life,
Yeah.
you remember a lot of your previous life, if that's a real thing? But if you notice in our adult lives, when we try to think back to our earliest memory, most people can remember like 4 or 5. But it's like you were alive and kicking and screaming way before that for another like 5 years. People picking you up and putting you down and changing your diaper. You don't remember any of that.
Yeah, I really don't. Like honestly, I remember like 5 years old.
It's always like 5 years old. Like it's such a weird number that everyone, like majority of people remember like right at that time.
Like what was happening to all those memories before, you know?
Yeah, for real. Like, was it processing an older memory from a previous life and just wrapping that up, or what? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I think maybe you're just like in purgatory. You're like, all right, you got to learn the basics during those 5 years.
Yeah, and babies are useless when they come out of the womb. Can't even keep their head up. They're just fucking.
I'd be kind of freaked out if the motherfucker came out and he knew how to walk, though.
That'd be, yeah, like a fucking gazelle just steps out of the womb and just starts walking around.
He gets up on a little fucking container.
He's double dutching over the umbilical cord.
Yeah, dude, or he bites it off. Fuck that, dude.
Oh, fuck, that'd be so, I would lose it. I'd be like, kill that fucking thing.
I'm fucking spiking that baby, dude.
Yeah, that thing is going out that hospital window right now.
Yeah, I'd be like, yo, he bit the umbilical cord. Be like, the doctor said that's what he prescribed.
Yeah.
Out the window.
Out the fucking window. What would you say is your earliest memory? Like, what's a, like, if you could think back on it, what's like your first memory that you can think of?
That's a tough one, man, because I feel like weed has made me forget a lot. Like, not like, you know, it's not actually scientifically, but just, I don't know, man. Sometimes you forget, man. I want to say a birthday cake being cut, like when I was like 5. You know what I mean? I remember I was living in an apartment and my family, and it was before they had the house, and yeah, it was one of those. So
yeah, I remember a birthday cake being put in front of me and just putting my face in it.
Yeah, I remember. I see some of those, you know, some of these memories, you know, like because obviously there was camcorders at some time. I remember some of my uncles having them, you know.
It's gonna be a trip for kids now. They can literally go on Facebook and see when they were a baby.
I look at those videos, and that's how I look at my childhood. I have to look at the VHSs, you know.
You got to get that shit transcribed to digital.
Yeah, for real.
That's the move, man. Another thing that I like asking my guests too is if you could make a phone call to 15-year-old E-Zone, give you a little piece of advice. It doesn't even affect your current timeline whatsoever, so you don't have to think in those regards. But it is you at 15, just in a different universe.
I would just say I would probably just tell myself to believe in those ideas a bit more and take an earlier start, because it's gonna make sense in the long run. You know, I was like, and I'll also be like, learn to manage your money, because I was working since I was 15, and I'm just like, you know, you buy a lot of dumb shit.
Fucking video games and wrestling belts and
Yeah, just different stuff. But at the same time, you got to live a childhood. So that's why you can't be like, I can't be buying shit. I'm like, yo, I'm fucking 16, 15. What the fuck you think I'm gonna buy? CDs and all this shit. Yeah. But yeah, I'd say number one, learn to start managing your money a lot better. Number two, or the other one would be take a leap on those ideas, those business ideas. Like take a chance. Don't wait till later in life when you're working.
That's good advice, man. That's solid advice. There was another thing that I wanted to ask you that just popped into my head when you were talking about that. Oh yeah, what's the one thing that it's objectively a stupid purchase, but you love it? Because you just said like when you were like 50, you're just buying dumb shit, but like what's something that you bought recently that where you're like, this is objectively a stupid purchase, but I love it. I'm gonna cherish this either way.
Something stupid that I recently bought.
Yeah.
It's probably like this Alf animatronic. It's from like 1982. Where I was like, I was supposed to sell it, but I was like, you know what, Alf can stay. Yeah.
This is a big Alf fan now.
I remember watching it. I remember watching it when I was younger, and then I never saw it in stores and shit like that. So I just, now that I see it, it spoke out to me, and I bought it, and I was like, oh, it was a little bit up there, but not crazy. But I was like, okay.
Yeah.
I was like, there's no real reason why I need this,
Yeah, you're like, this serves no purpose whatsoever.
Yeah.
Just makes you happy. That's so great.
Yeah, it does.
I love shit like that. There's like I remember I was like a huge like WWE fan growing up, so I remember like getting the magazines and stuff in the mail, and at the back they always had like a merch section where it was like all their like replica belts and different things, and like my parents would get me like the cheap foam ones from Walmart or whatever, but like I always wanted that like real replica belt, and now it's like, but they were like way too expensive. Like my parents were like, no fucking way.
Like they're
it's like $300. She's like, no fucking way.
You're like, we're not doing that.
Yeah, but now as an adult, I'm like, maybe I could get one of those. I don't know. That would be my stupid purchase. That would just make me smile.
The belt is definitely. You a big wrestling fan?
Yeah, big wrestling fan. Like I love like all of the different brands now that are like coming out, like AEW and TNA Impact is still even like a great show to watch. They've been on forever.
I mean, everything. I lost. Not that I lost interest in that, but it just evolved into too much. It was easier to, or maybe I just had more time, but I still like it.
Let me say this: I don't keep up with any of it. Like I'm not like every Monday night I gotta sit down for Raw. I don't even know who's on the roster. What I do is there's a Instagram page called Best of Pro Wrestling, and this guy's the greatest. He posts, I'm trying to get him on the podcast if he'll do it, but he posts like just old clips, like old wrestling clips, and it's always like the greatest nostalgia bump. Like it's just like all these old school matches that you're like, oh hell yeah. And the cool thing is like he'll show blood and whatever. I'm sure he gets flagged on Instagram all the time because they're always bleeding, right? When it's like chair shots.
Yeah.
The WWE recently, anything where there's blood involved, they put a black and white filter over it because they're trying to be so kid friendly that they don't even like showing blood anymore.
That is very true. I remember there's nowhere we're gonna get like a cage match anymore,
No.
or like something like a Mankind no more. That was like a wild time.
That's crazy shit. That almost sound like that whole story almost felt like what we were talking about earlier, where like you have a boss and you get in trouble for going like above and beyond. Like I feel like Vince was probably like, absolutely no way does anyone go off the top of that cage. It's far too dangerous. And Mick Foley was like, I'm gonna fucking try it.
Yeah, right.
And he tells Taker on top, throw me off. Throw me off. I'll go right through that fucking table. Loses part of his ear. It's like, oh Jesus.
I know, right? And he just had to put up with. That was such a wild era. Like I'm friends with Godfather, like the whole train. Yeah. And it's like that wouldn't fly today in today's WWE.
Dude, there's so much stuff from back in the day that would not fly. Like you hear like old Rock wrestling promos, like Dwayne Johnson's promos, where he's just like making like homophobic slurs. Just
Yes. Oh my god, that is the craziest thing. It would not fly.
I'm like, how is this guy doing Disney movies now? Like anything is possible. Like what the fuck? Like do people forget that easily? God damn. All right.
Yeah.
This is too much shit out there. That's the problem. Is there's too much content, I think, on the internet. I think we're good. I don't think we need more.
Yeah, I feel you on that.
It's like everyone is trying to do 500 pieces of content every single day, and it just gets like, where does it all go? It's just getting stored into a database somewhere.
I do wonder about that, man. It's like I don't know. I feel like it's useless, repressed shit.
They're like, it's on the internet. We were like, well, what is that? You're like, somebody's got to be in charge of it.
That's very true, brother.
I'm gonna wrap it up here, bro, because I usually do about an hour to keep these shows light for the people watching and listening. But thank you so much for coming on, man. Everyone go follow Flavors by E-Zone. That sucks that your old account got deleted. What the fuck happened there?
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's my second one that I had deleted. I don't know, man. I stopped posting. I stopped posting as much crazy weed on there as like I used to. So now I just kind of like all strictly my content and just my crazy ideas.
Check him out on BRealTV as well. It's your own podcast. We Don't Smoke the Same Pod as well.
Yeah, but We Don't Smoke the Same podcast. It's on YouTube and all other podcast streaming platforms, And then my food blog.
TV.
Yep, High and Hungry TV. Make sure you follow that because we got a new season coming up in I want to say late June, early July. We're going to premiere the season, so don't sleep on that because we're going to be taking you to some of the best places in LA.
Get on that, guys. Go watch High and Hungry. Go check out all of the awesome products on flavorsbyezone.com. You've got hats, candles, t-shirts, vintage stuff there as well. There's tons going on. Like I said, man, I'm so happy to finally get a chance to meet you. I think you're an incredibly interesting person, and you're gonna just keep going up from here, dude.
Thank you so much, man. It was dope to to actually finally I could sit down and have a conversation with you. Next time I'm in Canada, I definitely want to link up with you. And when you're out here, definitely come by my place. You know what I mean? Come by my studio and we'll chop it up there, and you can have a whole LA experience like I did with Nitty and Danny.
Yeah, that'd be great. I love the Tish and I love Danny as well. They're great comics, great guys.
Yeah, they're definitely they had a blast, man. They definitely did.
We got an LA link now, guys. Hit me up when you're in Ottawa, our nation's capital.
All right. I mean, I might actually take you up on that. I got nothing but love for Canada. I'm the only one out here rocking Toronto Blue Jays hats.
Yeah, that's great. I fucking love that. Just 1 in a million out there now. Yeah,
for real, man.
All right, bro.
They all show up when Russell Peters goes to the Comedy Store.
Yeah, hundo feet. All right, later, bro. Peace.
All right, brother. Have a good one, man. Nice chopping it up with you guys.
Yeah.
You've been listening to The Johnny Rogers Show. New episodes air every Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.